In recent years, unmarked graves containing the remains of slaves have been uncovered across the United States. In some instances, these graves have been forgotten and sadly buried even further into history. RT correspondent Ashlee Banks brings us the story of how advocates are calling for the preservation of these burial sites.
Unmarked graves, an issue plaguing many U.S. officials. In recent years, states across the nation have been discovering unmarked cemeteries with slave remains, leaving many officials to wonder what should they do with them, while others are saying simply preserving them is the only option. Like here at the Mount Olivet Cemetery, where the Catholic Church decided to honor the remains of slaves who were left scattered in unmarked graves across the District of Columbia. Last summer, unmarked graves of more than 200 slaves were found in North Carolina. Researchers believe these slaves were buried after 1859. Traveling further up the East Coast, the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration recently uncovered a slave cemetery with unmarked stones containing the remains of slaves. And late last year, the remains of African Americans as young as 14 and as old as 70 were discovered at a construction site in Sugar Land, Texas. Many of these people are said to have been a part of the convict leasing system, which exploited a clause in the 13th Amendment outlawing slavery except as a punishment for a crime. Southern states, including Texas, used this to target and arrest black men for petty crimes, including homelessness and flirting with white women. They were then forced to endure extreme working conditions. I spoke with Gerald Horn, professor of history and African American studies at the University of Houston.
It's also fair to say that this mass arrest and detention of black men in particular was a way not just to maintain a cheap labor force, but it was also a way to keep black people from developing the economic wherewithal that would allow them to challenge Jim Crow and to challenge the post-1865 slavery by another name system. That is to say that this system was also designed to prevent black people from owning businesses, because if they owned businesses, they could then become competitors to their non-black counterparts and peers and serve as a wedge that would be seen as undermining the entire Jim Crow system.
I then spoke with Lynn Rainville, the dean of Sweetbriar College in Virginia, to ask her why these graves were overlooked.
For me, the same sort of inequalities that we see in our living society are replicated in the cities of the dead. So to answer your question then more directly, the reason why certain burials of certain ethnic groups in this country are more likely to have been overlooked or damaged or vandalized or built upon, for me, has everything to do with how the same individuals were treated in life.
Lynn, Horn, and many advocates believe state officials should take measures to ensure these graves are preserved. Although it appears America would like to do away with its past, many agree with James Baldwin, who once said, quote, "The story of the Negro in America is the story of America." And many agree these graves shouldn't be forgotten. In Washington, Ashlee Banks, RT.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.